Welcome to Digitized Spotlight, your lens into the best builders in consumer crypto. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Winnie. And on this series, we explore some of the latest trends emerging in consumer crypto and chat with those building at the forefront. On this episode, we dive into robotics, which is currently at an inflection point. AI breakthroughs and massive new investments have really accelerated robotics by decades. And I think we finally reached the ChatGPT moment for robotics.
We dig into BitRobot, which is building the world's open robotics lab. By coordinating global contributors, hardware, and compute, BitRobot aims to enable breakthroughs in embodied AI that no single lab could achieve alone.
Hey, Michael. Hey, Amanda.
Hey,
Michael.
Hey, Winnie. How are you doing?
Great.
This Digitized Spotlight episode is a fun one. I transitioned to venture partner at Collab+Currency and joined BitRobot SEO back in May. Since then, it's been an awesome whirlwind of building out the network and ecosystem as we get BitRobot to launch. So excited to share what we're building and bring on Michael, the co-founder of BitRobot, to join the conversation.
To kick this off, Michael, can you share a little bit about your journey into robotics and crypto, the founding of BitRobot, and kind of what led you to the kind of the early days and inspiration behind BitRobot?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. So honestly, I got into it just kind of by accident. So this is during pandemic. Me and my brothers were we were all kind of separate in different countries, and it was like the end of the world. We thought we needed a reason to keep in touch. So we thought we should just geek out over something. And then we decided to just build basically a sidewalk robot. And so I think for like nearly half a year, every weekend, we spend the entire Saturday like hacking on something remote. I mean, I'll have my own robot. My brother will have his own robot. So we kind of did that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was just a weekend hacking project. But then me and Sam, my second brother, we thought that that's something that we could offer that have never really been tried before. Because at that point, even I would say now, like most of the sidewalk robots are pretty expensive. And so we thought we could build something that's way cheaper. And the way to do it is to building, in a way, a dumb robot. And and we basically kind of think of it as a toy. But our hypothesis was that the data that you can gather from such a dumb robot is probably as valuable as something that you can gather from a robot that costs like $10,000, something like that. So, and my thought back then was that a lot of these models or embodied AI model, or if you want to do autonomous driving on these cyber robots, is probably like data bound, like bottleneck by data. So if you can just drastically reduce the hardware cost, then it's going to help a lot. But to be honest, like me and brother, like it was pure naive optimism. We had never done
like how it
before.
Works, though. You have to be quite naive to kind of build something like this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there was a hunch. I was keeping track of what's happening in the research world. I mean, even back then, I used to read a lot of research paper, especially in computer vision and all that. So I kind of knew things were heading that way. But it's still, I mean, me and my brother, we are not roboticists by training. So we were just very curious, and we like to hack stuff. I mean, we keep that way. Yeah, so it started like that.
I love that. In the early days, what were the robots that you guys were building over on the Saturdays and nights and weekends? What were like the first iterations of what you and Sam were doing?
Oh, you mean where? Did you say where were the robots? What were the robots? This is all sidewalk robots, but they have like wires dangling out all the time. They barely work, as you can imagine. They are overweight, very, a lot more expensive than what we have now. So I would say we've come a long way. But it was all just learning by doing kind of thing. I mean, on one hand, I think it's bad in that to be honest, we didn't know what we're doing at the beginning. But on the other hand, it was also very good in that me and Sam, we had no preconceived notion of what should or shouldn't work. It was all, we just a blank piece of paper. We just assume we're idiots. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
But our philosophy was always just to test it in the real world. Partially because we don't have a proper lab anyway. So we just put the robots out there and see how they break. And then, but we always made from day one, we made a conscious effort to gather the data, and that has like worked wonder for us down the road when we started like having more partnership or that. But yeah, it started that way. It's just a weekend project. Yeah.
Cool. I love that story. I guess like
Mm.
in getting started, what were some key challenges or bottlenecks that you faced in the early days to kind of getting some of these general purpose physical AI, and how does like BitRobot help solve them?
Yeah. So like I said, I think a big thesis of mine, even like I would say nearly 4 years ago when we decided to really do it full time, was data is gonna like real world data could be a big part of solving embodied AI. And so you asked about like how we got into crypto, like how has crypto involved. And so to be honest, when me and Sam first started, I thought like most skeptical crypto is scam. Like I was very skeptical of crypto, to be very honest. But then I discovered helium. Like I remember, yeah, this was like 2 months after starting the company. At the time, it was only me and Sam, right? And so, yeah, and then helium just totally blew my mind. I thought it was crazy that you can crowdsource both, the hardware cost as well as the actual deployment, across the world. And there they were selling, hundreds of thousands of units. I think by that point, and at about $500, and we were also trying to get our robots down to $500. And I wanted that map, that helium map that helium had, and so I thought I need to learn about that. And I would say fast forward to now, like I definitely 100% believe in DeepIn if it's done well. I think some things you can scale a lot faster using this kind of permissionless incentivization scheme. And I think especially for robotics, especially in the research world, they call this like in the wild data, which is the data is collected literally where the robots are supposed to be, right? Instead of being in labs and warehouses and things like that, or a controlled environment. So, and this is very critical because unlike the older days when you do like what they call classical robotics, meaning the robots are these are robots that you probably find in factories, they are doing the same thing day in, day out, like, thousands of times every month. So you can use very deterministic kind of like coding to get those to work. And those work very, very well. But those don't generalize, right? But if you use the new paradigm, the most extreme is you train things what they call end to end. Ultimately, these AI models is just a reflection of the data that you collect from. So it makes a big difference if the AI models are trained using data that's collected from various environments. And so in our case, the Sour robot, we now have robots in more than 50 cities because people are starting to buy them. These are cheap, like toys. And it turns out that diversity in environments, it makes a huge difference on building a model that it's already quite generalizable, even though you don't have that huge amount of quantity data, but they are already quite generalizable because of where the data is collected from. And I think crypto is the best way to diversify and get people around the world to contribute. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think crypto and kind of like a lot of DeepIn projects have proved one of the early use cases around dramatically reducing upfront capital costs, incentivizing the right players. I'm curious to kind of understand how you guys think about kind of that incentive design. Like, how do people earn? What are the data that you guys are collecting? Walk me through what uniquely suits kind of robotics R&D and what that data looks like in comparison to some other projects that maybe listeners are more familiar with, like Helium that you mentioned.
With BitRobot, we're building a platform for distributed open robotics research and development. We're doing this through what we call a network of subnets. You can think of a subnet as a market that's focused on a particular type of output that's pushing embodied AI forward. So creating a specific type of data set, facilitating evaluation of models in the real world. And then the types of data that we're collecting and across that include teleoperation, video, and simulation. So these are the three types of data that are needed for robotics. And then the benefit of having a network of subnets is there's many different approaches right now to how to move robotics forward. And so we can basically pursue all of them in parallel. So like pursuing teleoperation, but also egocentric video. And then another trend is cross embodiment or co-training. And so this is like, okay, let's make sure that the model works on different types of embodiments, different types of tasks. And so we're able to kind of, through our different subnets, showcase different types of data and then pull that together in something that can be a more general purpose AI model. So yeah, I would say those are some of the strengths that we have. I don't know if Michael, you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, just to double tap, but it's basically still back to this point I was trying to make earlier, which is diversity. Like diversity is not just in the environments where you collect this data. It should also be diversity in terms of the robotic types, right? Humanoids or cyber robots or drones. It turns out, even if you are gathering data from these very different robotic types, actually you can build a more generalized model that can potentially work across all different kind of robots. Yeah. So yeah, and BitRobot is set up in a way that allows that flexibility and
very interesting. Today, I think I read that anyone can kind of contribute to subnet 1, which is like basically a Pokemon style Go sidewalk where it was to gather real world urban data, and then subnet 5. What has been the response so far? And maybe you can tell folks a little bit more about the two of those.
Yeah, I can talk about the first one. So because I've been doing it the longest, the cyber robot. So it is actually quite a fun game. It just like you say, it's very much like Pokemon Go in the real world. So the idea is like the cyber robot is literally like an RC card with 4G basically. So what that means is that you can be, let's say, sitting in your home while controlling a robot either around your neighborhood or even halfway across the world, because these things are just running through the internet. And that makes it super fun because, it happens in the real world. You're collecting some virtual items, on the map. But yeah, this happens in the real world. So I think it makes, I find it I still find it really fun to drive. I don't drive it as often as when I first started out. I've been to many cities that I would never get a chance to go to. I remember the most memorable one I tried was, it was super hot one day in Singapore. And then I was driving this robot that we have in Sweden. It was snow everywhere. It was magical. It was so magical. But it's probably a very ordinary place. The Swedes are probably just used to snow everywhere. I was sweating in Singapore, but so that I think that aspect and
that's
is very cool.
And how do people access it? Is it just kind of a platform, a portal, app, website? Walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah, from the gamer perspective, it's very, just think of it like a cloud-based game. It's like you access it on the browser. You don't need to download any app. You just log in. Yeah. Yep. And then just drive. So what you see is the front camera, the back camera.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then you link it up with your game controller and you start driving. Yeah.
And how has the response been so far from, the community and folks who have been kind of playing around with it and kind of helping you guys contribute and gather data?
Yeah, I would say there are a few very different distinct groups who are very interested in what we're building. So you have one group who are just gamers who just treat it like a pure game. I kind of think of it myself mostly falling into that group. I resonate with because I really love the game. And then you have folks who are interested in the hardware. So these are the hardware makers who look at it as a hackable thing, that you can do. I should also say we're open sourcing the hardware very, very, very soon. So you have that group as well. And then you have the researchers. So researchers look at it as, again, a very cheap, affordable data collection device that can be used to harness data that they will then use to train the model. And so we have a lot of, I'll say, world-class researchers doing urban navigation, model building, that kind of thing, who are very involved on the platform. So you have these kind of different distinct groups. And of course, you have the crypto people who look at it as a potential deeping thing.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we don't have the tokens not live yet. So I think it's quite interesting to get all these different people getting involved for these different reasons. But I think it's quite cool. Maybe Amanda, you guys talk about the SeeSaw app as well. I think that one is quite cool as well. Very different from the cyber robot.
Yeah, definitely. So SeeSaw is focused on egocentric video and capturing this via iPhone. It's a subnet that was launched a month ago by Virtuals. And essentially, they've gotten like a ton of demand so far. I think almost 300,000 tasks have been submitted. And these are tasks like, unload the dishwasher, fold laundry. So the response has been really strong from the community.
Who's submitting these tasks?
So anyone can download this iPhone app. So you just need an iPhone. So people around the world are submitting these tasks.
And I guess like what is Virtuals? I'm curious, like their involvement in kind of helping launch a subnet. What is like kind of their thesis or their strategy there? I hadn't known they were doing this. That's very cool to hear.
Yeah, so I think Freudabots Labs, which is essentially the development studio of BitRobot, started off as building the sidewalk robot game, which we call the Subnet One ET Fugi.
Yeah,
and so Michael and his team are creating a bunch of subnets and helping launch other subnets within the ecosystem. But the idea here is like we want to be bigger than just ourselves, right? And so we want to attract ecosystem teams, either robotics startups and manufacturers, startups to also launch subnets. And so Virtuals is one of those teams.
Love that. Cool. And I think for the past few years, I also read that you guys have been organizing this like Earth Rover Challenge, which is a real world urban navigation competition with researchers from like Google DeepMind, Meta, and a lot of academia folks. Maybe tell us a little bit more about what that is, what led you to start this competition, and what have been some of the learnings and research and stuff to come out of it.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, yeah. So the competition basically, fundamentally, we take the top human gamers who play our game, to take on AI models that are built by all these different labs. This could be universities like UT Austin, National University of Singapore, or Seoul National University, basically like labs that do this kind of research. So they build the AI models that basically take on the same game as the human gamers. So if you think about it, it's basically humanity versus AI, playing the same basically Pokemon Go game, something like that. And so, like I mentioned earlier, like the researchers are very interested in this platform because like this is like we have basically one of the largest, by far the largest data set of its kind already. And many of the research team take advantage of that to build the models. And then more importantly, because these robots that we build are really affordable, cheap, and therefore a lot easier for them to actually start, experimenting. Versus some of these other traditional robot, like, they're very fancy, way more capable than ours. It's just that they're damn expensive. I think, yeah, I'm really happy to see. So now there are like, academic papers that are being written. Many of them have been published, more on the way. And so I feel that we are really making a meaningful difference already through the data set and also through this competition. By the way, like the humans are way better than the AI in case you're wondering. So the AI is still pretty shitty.
We're not quite there yet. Our job is still backstage from AI.
Yeah. I mean, the urban navigation, basically sidewalk driving, is in many ways the same kind of like stack or problem set as self-driving on the road.
Yeah.
It's just that way more resources and also way more data have been gathered on the road. And so Sidewalk Robot in a way is way behind. But hopefully, like, through what we've been doing, we are getting a lot of these researchers to push further ahead. Yeah. And I think if you look at, the universities and also some of our co-organizers, many of them actually, like you mentioned, from researchers from DeepMind, Meta AI, and universities. So I think for them to be involved with us, speaks volume about like, this is very much needed in the research world. And I think we are already providing value even at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you also run a podcast where you kind of talk a lot about and interview some of these top researchers, correct? In robotics. Yep. What are some like exciting frontier things? I guess a lot of what you're doing is already quite frontier, but like, what are some interesting research pathways or, exciting things that you guys have been discussing lately that you can share?
Yeah, me and this guy, Chris Paxton, shout out to Chris. He's a real expert. He himself is a top researcher. So I feel very privileged to do the podcast with him. I think both of us. I mean, you can tell as I'm very geeky. I read like research papers for years before I go to sleep. So I've been doing it for ages.
I mean, you spent COVID building robots, so
yeah. So that was my COVID. There are. I think there are some clear trends, I would say, because like we do this like once or twice a week now. There's just so many cool papers coming out. But broadly speaking, like I can name a few big trends. Like for example, models that are trained using eco-centric videos. This is I kind of feel that the last maybe half a year there was a big trend. There are a lot more papers coming out, partially because of some of these like work that's done, especially by Meta. They have this smart glasses called Aria, so that has spun on a bunch of research. And to be honest, eco-centric video have been looked at by the computer vision community for like ages. But I thought nothing really moved until quite recently. And now there's a huge amount of interest. So something has changed, I think, technology that allows researchers to do a lot more with eco-centric video. So I think that's one big one. Of course, all the humanoids, they are very, very like advancing very, very quickly. A year plus ago, they can barely walk. Now they are like kicking around, like, doing crazy dance so, so I think there are a lot of very cool papers coming that's specific to humanoid as well. Some of the other stuff also, more fundamental research, like, I think reinforcement learning, it's traditionally doesn't really work for robotics. So like, for example, AlphaGo is basically all RL, but because you can always, you can restart the game. It's all in simulation, right? And so, whereas in the real world, if you do some RL, like on policy RL, online RL, and then basically if robots fail, you can't respawn.
Yeah.
So that's why it's never quite worked. But I'm starting to see people pushing the boundary on what you can do, and I think that's a very big piece of the puzzle as well that needs to be solved. It's not solved, but there are a lot of cool works coming out. I just saw yesterday like something from physical intelligence using RL to a great extent. And by definition, by extension, there are these like in context learning things like that allow the robots to learn a lot more when they're being deployed, instead of just the current paradigm, which is just collecting a huge amount of data first, and then you train the model, then you deploy, and then you see how it fails, then you train a huge model again, right? Which is super inefficient. That's not how animals and humans do, right? We just learn as we go.
We iterate as we go.
And then we just accumulate.
We make mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the robots, exactly. So I think these are cool research trends. And we have covered many like authors that cover these different things. So yeah. So these are some of the big trends, I would say.
Love that. Earlier you mentioned how humanoids are getting a bit better. I am curious because I know you guys also incubated and spun off this like humanoid fighting entertainment franchise. And tell me more about that. Like, I feel like there's like a lot of sold out shows. There's a lot of coverage on that. What led you to launch UFB, I believe it's what it's called, and kind of like how does that tie to BitRobot?
So Robot's incubated UFB. It's like you said, it's a humanoid fighting league. They've had a bunch of shows in SF and LA, sold out, covered in New York Times, Ashley Vance, Washington Post. I think now they're in LA working with creators like Wiz Khalifa that are piloting the bots. They've gotten a lot of attention. I think and I think Michael can talk about like his thesis around robotic gaming. But essentially, like, if you think about what is the first use case for robots like humanoids, when they're not super, reliable in doing like everyday tasks, it's entertainment. And so, like, I know Michael views that the first big use case and like where most of the purchases of humanoids are going to go to is towards entertainment. And so how can you use entertainment to then create a flywheel for robotics R&D? So use the media and entertainment franchise to finance the bots, and then use the bots when they're not fighting for a subnet. In this case, something like humanoid navigation is what we're exploring. So that's the concept. I know, like, Michael's the kind of the visionary though behind UFE, so I don't know if you want to add.
Well, I mean, it's the same kind of learning I got from the sidewalk robot. It's a game, but I
Yeah.
think you can't always do that. But if you can create a robotic entertainment thing, and oftentimes there's some overlap with something that could be useful for research. It doesn't happen all the time, but I think if it happens, then I think we should lean into it. But it's a whole different endeavor on its own. So like Zenny and Vitali, the two co-founders they're leading it. So it needs to be treated as a serious like entertainment business, media business kind of thing, and so they're running that. Yeah.
And rumor has it that they are going to Solana Breakpoint in the Middle East. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Anything you can share that's exciting about that?
Over 20 humanoids will be going to Etihad Arena, where Breakpoint is being hosted. I think the first robot fight in the Middle East, and 3 days of battles. You'll be seeing your favorite Solana ecosystem founders, investors, KOLs piloting the bots. So yeah, come by.
It's like karate combat. You know how they used to take over some of these conferences, but now it's humanoids fought by the same KOLs. Maybe some of you guys can bring back the same fighters, but maybe they'd be better in a humanoid form. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's close out with some fun rapid fire questions. Michael and Amanda, maybe we can start with one each, but what is your favorite robotics movie or fictional robot character?
Oh gosh, yeah, so many. Oh man. I'm just gonna say like a Gundam. I have so many Gundam in my house.
I have so many Gundams at my house because my husband just keeps like building these. So we have a whole army of them, and I'm like, do we need another one?
Yeah. Gundam. I'm a huge fan of Gundam. But
I love it.
Gundam, I'll say. Yeah.
Amanda.
I would say so. I really enjoyed watching Sunny. The show and seeing the homebot. Hopefully they won't go rogue. The ones that are entering those in the next year.
Yeah, that's a good show too. Yeah, Sunny. Yep.
What's the underrated robotics project or like research paper or something that you guys are following that are excited about?
There's this one called Robo Arena. It's not really algorithm per se, but they have set up kind of like a real world evaluation, almost like leaderboard kind of thing, where policies, new AI models are being tested by a distributed like network of people who provide the robots to test these models. Because this is a big problem. I would say increasingly even more important going forward. Like there's no benchmarking basically in robotics. Every paper you read, they self-declare some success rate. You just have to trust that they did their work. Like there's no fair. It's completely different from, let's say, in the LLMs or that. You have all the arenas, different benchmarks. Everyone kind of like know what are the benchmarks, and you can replicate it yourself, right? But robotics you can't. And so Robo Arena is a pretty smart way to do it. I thought it's and we actually contribute a fair bit to it now. But I would love to see more of this sort of like kind of project.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the one thing.
Amanda, do you have a favorite robotics project?
So we were talking about like what are the other types of data we could be collecting via BitRobot. And so something that Michael and Arid, the founder of General Intuition, which is building models based off of video game data. So we've been spending some time looking into that and other kinds of ways that we could expand what we're collecting on BitRobot.
Love. What's a robotics feature that you guys are personally excited to use or have in your homes or in your everyday?
I mean, I absolutely need a robot that can do my laundry. Like that.
Okay, same. I'm like, that's like my number one thing I need you guys to nail down.
Yeah, I'll pay top dollars for it, but it's got to work though. Like I think my wife have pretty high standards.
Yes.
In terms of how things are being folded, clothes are being folded. So high standards, but it's very much. I'll pay top dollar for it, man.
Well, Michael, when you get that, please send me one, and I will buy one too because I will want whatever humanoid you and your wife train to fold clothes.
Yes.
Amanda,
for sure.
Yeah, I would say the HomeBot as well, but I mean, I'm less concerned about laundry folding, more just like general cleaning.
Yeah,
like if they can clean the kitchen, clean the floors.
And if they can unload the dishwashers properly, because I've been seeing some videos of them just absolutely missing there. Cool. Well, Michael, it's great to have you on Digitized Spotlight. And Amanda, awesome to learn what you're up to. Where can listeners find and learn out more about BitRobot?
So it would be our Twitter, so like at BitRobot Network, our website, bitrobot.ai. And there you'll be able to find as well like links to the live subnets and ways to get involved today.
Awesome. I'm excited to check it out. Cool. Thanks for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having us, Winnie. Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us as we chat with Michael. It's been awesome to build out the BitRobot network over the past year. Great to unpack it here.
Agreed. It was an awesome conversation to learn about the future of robotics, how crypto can really play a role in advancing R&D and data collection. Follow us as we chat with more founders building at the intersection of consumer and crypto. Bye.
Bye.